everyone, welcome back to Biophilia, your all-time study mate. Today we are going to continue our chapter and end it with the topic of nutrient cycles. If you like this video and get some help, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel Biophilia. So continuing with the last topic of this chapter, that is about nutrient cycles. Nutrient cycle जो होता है उसके पहले you should know that where are these nutrients. So whatever is the amount of nutrients present in the soil at a given time is called as standing state. And now we had also seen one more term that is called as a standing crop. So standing state and standing crop में difference we have already seen in the previous part, and the link will be provided down in the description box with the other parts of this chapter as well. So you can surely go and check out that as well. So now you are going to see that whatever is the amount of nutrients, that is the standing state, this is going to be circulated, and the circulation will be continued in the living and the non-living components. That is called as the nutrient cycle or the biogeochemical cycle. Bio because it is going in the living, geo because it is going through the soil, and chemicals, that is the nutrients. So it is rotating, it is circulating between the two, so it is a cycle. So whole biogenetic nutrients are not always in circulation. Sometimes they are kept as a reservoir. So the circulation pool is where जहाँ पे circulation होगा between the living and non-living components, but reservoir pool में they will be remaining as an inactive form. For example, to understand, reservoir pool is going to be the cash which is kept as check. अब चेक जब तक आप डिपॉजिट करोगे नहीं, इट इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू बी एक्सेप्टेड बाय एवरीवन. You cannot use it the way you want, or you can take it as a FD. You have to keep it for some days. It is a solid cash, right? It is not fluid, it is a solid cash. या फिर आप उसे ऐसे समझ सकते हो that एक आइस क्यूब है, आइस क्यूब के अंदर आपकी जो नोट है वो नोट को अंदर जमा दिया गया है. So you cannot use it at the time that you need. You have to wait until the ice melts, or you have to break the ice, and then you can use that nutrient, that is the cash. So reservoir pool जो होता है, it is going to go into a slow transferring. So जैसे जैसे आइस धीरे धीरे मेल्ट होगी, some part of the note can be seen. Similarly, some part of the nutrients will go into the recycling pool, and from that we can understand that these nutrients are going to remain in inactive form, because जो आइस के अंदर नोट जमी हुई है, या जो आपके चेक में अमाउंट है, या FD में जो अमाउंट है, you cannot use it at the time you need. So that is the reservoir pool, whereas the cycling pool is going to be the fluid, the active form of nutrients. So for example, so the cycling pool में जो है, it is going to be your hard cash जो आपके wallet में होगी all the time, that is your hard cash, and that is going to be called as fluid money. This fluid money can be an example of a cycling pool. जब आप मन चाहो आप उसे use कर सकते हो, and that is going to come under the active forms of the nutrient cycling. So this is the two types that you need to understand. One, that is the reservoir pool, one is the cycling pool. Cycling pool है जो आपने एक दुकानदार को दिया, किसी ने उसको छोटे में और किसी को दे दिया. It is going to circulate in all people, but जो reservoir pool है, it is not going to. So this is the difference that you need to keep under the consideration. And very important thing for the reservoir pool to understand, one example can be given is that nitrogen in the atmosphere. नाइट्रोजन जो एटमॉस्फेयर में होता है, it is a reservoir because this nitrogen is going to be fixed by some microbes only. Humans cannot use it directly, nor the plants can. So it is a reservoir pool जहाँ से थोड़ा थोड़ा करके the active form will be converted by the microorganisms. So that are the nitrogen fixing bacteria or some other bacteria which are going to take the reservoir pool, convert it into the cycling pool. Now we understand the two geochemical cycles. The first one is going to be the gaseous cycle, second is the sedimentary cycle. As the name gaseous cycle, जो exchange होगा nutrients का, it is going to be in the form of gases or vapor, whereas sedimentary cycle में exchange possible नहीं है because it is a sedimentary. So you can understand gases can move, but sediments how it will be. So biogeochemical, that is the nutrient that is going to be circulated, is going to be a non-mineral source, whereas in sedimentary cycle it is going to be a mineral source. The reservoir pool for gaseous cycles is majorly atmosphere or hydrosphere, that is water sources or air, whereas in sedimentary it is going to be the earth's crust, or you can say it is going to be the soil. So gaseous cycle examples you can very well understand, that is nitrogen, carbon, oxygen and hydrogen, and their cycles, that is the gaseous cycle. And the sedimentary cycle is going to be consisting of the sulfur and the phosphorus cycle. So from here we are going to see two major, one from each type. Gaseous cycles may we are going to see about the carbon cycle, and from the sedimentary cycle we are going to see about the phosphorus cycle. So these are going to be the two cycles dealt in detail in this chapter. So the first cycle for our study in detail is going to be the carbon cycle, which comes under the gaseous cycle type. So gaseous cycles में carbon, as we know, is going to be a very important component for all the living compounds found in the protoplasm. So some of the examples can be carbohydrates, there can be lipids, that is fats. You can also find them in proteins, you can find them in nucleic acids like DNA, you can find them in RNA, you can find them in enzymes, you can find them in hormones. So what not in the cell is all going to be made up of the carbon, and it is going to constitute the 49% of the dry weight of the organism. So from where is this carbon going to come? First of all, it is going to come, the major one, that is 71% of it is going to be found as dissolved in oceans, and this oceans is going to be the reservoir which is going to regulate the amount of CO2, that is carbon dioxide, in the atmosphere. Another source of carbon can be the carbonate and the graphite rocks and even the fossil fuels. So fossil fuels में जैसे coal हो गया है, जैसे petroleum हो गया है, all that is going to be not petroleum exactly, but you can say crude oil. So these all are going to be the sources of carbon somewhere. And what is the utilization of carbon? So about it is 4 into 10 raised to 13 kgs. So you can imagine this is a lot amount of number of carbon is going to be fixed in the biosphere through photosynthesis. So जो आपका कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को प्रोसेस से to convert it into say glucose. In glucose also you are going to find it as a carbon fixation. So ये जो fixation है, this is nothing but the amount you can see over here. So this much amount of carbon is going to be fixed, and sometimes suppose for example जो plant जिसने glucose बनाया है, if it gets buried deep into the soil many years after, the carbon that is fixed is going to be lost in form of the sediments, in formation of shells. It can be in the case of skeletons, so that might be the case of animals. So animals के जो skeletons bury हो जाएंगे, then that is the part that comes under the reservoir cycle. Reservoir cycle, because this will be lost from the circulation and they are going to remain as a solid cache, यानी वो freezed ice वाला cache है, you cannot use it the time you need. So that is the way, that is the fixed carbon dioxide, the fixed carbon dioxide is going to get buried into the soil and form the reservoir cycle. The next is the addition of carbon. Sometimes some activities of humans or some activities that occurs in nature are going to contribute to the carbon amounts. So there is a considerable amount of carbon which is going to be returning to the atmosphere, because majority कहाँ पे है? The reservoir which is going to regulate the amount. So regulation कौन कर रहा है? It is going to be the oceans. So once the oceans में से कुछ amount atmosphere में जाएगा, this is going to be the respiratory activities of the producers and consumers. So the oxygen that you take in and the carbon dioxide you let out, the carbon dioxide let out after the respiration is going to go into the atmosphere, and in this way some amount is going to be returned to the atmosphere. Even the decomposers are going to contribute to the CO2 pool by decomposing the waste material. So that might be on land or it might be in oceans, but decomposition will also lead to production of carbon dioxide. Sometimes humans are going to burn wood. There might be forest fires, that is a natural contribution. There can be volcanic eruptions, there can be fossil fuels burning. All this is also going to lead to release of carbon dioxide. And even human activities which are going through, like बहुत ज़्यादा rush driving है, इतना traffic है, there is rapid deforestation so that many people can live onto the land. This all is going to also increase the rate of carbon dioxide production. And as you know, carbon dioxide जैसे बढ़ेगा, the greenhouse gases, it is a part of it, and because of that greenhouse effect is also increasing, and because of that, you know, the earth is suffering from global warming. So as these additions of the carbon dioxide are increasing, it is leading to global warming. So it is very important to reduce the carbon addition. The respiratory activities cannot be, you know, minimized, but the activities that are being influenced by human, like burning of wood, volcanic eruptions, that is not again in our hand. But the things that are can be used to minimize the source of carbon into the form of global warming. This is going to be a complete carbon cycle. So the start will be from the ocean, जहाँ से water में जो carbon dioxide है, it is going to somewhere being taken into the atmosphere, and once it comes into the atmosphere, there are many different sources from which it can come. There can be photosynthesis, burning of combustion, and everything is going to again lead to carbon dioxide formation. This is because it is a gaseous cycle. You can see that there is going to be contribution of atmosphere. But when you see about the sedimentary cycle में atmosphere में there is no conversion. Everything that is going to occur will be on the soil or inside the soil. So let us understand now about the sedimentary cycle as well. So phosphorus cycle जो है, it is going to be an example for the sedimentary cycle. Sedimentary है, that means everything mostly is going to be taking place in and above the soil. It will not be contributing anywhere in the atmosphere. So what is the importance of phosphorus? It is going to be a major component of the biological membranes. It is going to be a part of nucleic acids and the cellular energy transfer system. That is nothing but your ATP. So ATP में जो P होता है, that is nothing but your phosphorus. So animals are going to need a lot of phosphorus because even in the bones, even in the teeth, along with calcium, you are going to need phosphorus. So calcium and phosphorus are going to make your teeth and bones stronger. So for that reason, phosphorus is going to be the second most critical element after nitrogen. So सबसे पहले नाइट्रोजन और सेकेंड नंबर पे आएगा phosphorus. So you can understand what is the importance of phosphorus and the importance of understanding the phosphorus cycle. So what is the source of it? It is going to come from the rocks, and rocks that have phosphorus in them. These are in form of phosphates, and from the rocks they are being utilized for the sourcing of this element. Now the utilization and addition of phosphorus is going to come at a very small amount because it has to undergo a natural process that takes a lot of time, that is the weathering of rocks. So बड़े बड़े जो पत्थर होंगे, पत्थरों के ऊपर जब बहुत ज़्यादा हीट आएगा, जब टेम्परेचर बढ़ेगा, जब प्रेशर बढ़ेगा, when there are going to be roots that are going to go through. So जब ये rocks टूटेंगे, these rocks having phosphorus in them, once they start breaking, these are going to release phosphorus, and now this phosphorus which is being released because of the weathering of rocks at a very small amount are going to be absorbed by the roots of the plants. Now the plants which have already absorbed the phosphorus will be eaten by the herbivores. From the herbivores, this will go to other animals, and now once the animal excretes all this phosphorus, or it is being इकट्ठा होके accumulate होके dead bodies में आ चुका है, Now once the decomposers are going to decompose everything, and from the complex compounds it is going to be released as a simple inorganic form. Now it is going to release all the accumulated phosphorus back into the soil, and once it is back into the soil it can be reutilized by the plants. So here you can see a very systematic flow chart to understand the addition and utilization, or in fact the phosphorus cycle. That means the rocks and the minerals which undergo weathering are going to be used in the soil solution. It is the soil solution will be taken up by the producers, or sometimes it will run off, and once these producers have been utilizing the phosphorus it will be given to the consumers. Once die they are going to go to detritus, or when producers die they will also come under the detritus. Detritus undergoes decomposition and will come back again to the soil solution. So a very important thing to remember, that is यहाँ पे जो आपने cycle देखी है, this cycle is never ever going to include the atmosphere. You cannot see anywhere that the atmosphere is being calculated under here for the cycling. Atmosphere नहीं आएगा. There is no respiratory release. That means यहाँ पे respiration की मदद से जैसे carbon dioxide was released, this respiratory release is also not going to be possible. So no atmosphere, no respiratory. And another difference that can be seen from the carbon cycle, that is whatever are the inputs from the rainfall. So input जैसे carbon dioxide का input from the rain can be possible. So input of phosphorus from rainfall is also very less. Very rarely there is going to be you know coming phosphorus amounts from the rain, because वहाँ पे atmosphere use नहीं होता है, and because of that input from the rainfall is also going to be very low. So these are the two differences that are going to be coming from the carbon cycle, or you can say from the gaseous cycle. So gaseous cycle or sediment cycle में क्या difference है? The two, that is the atmosphere is not included because respiratory release is not found. The second one is going to be the input from the rainfall is going to be very minimal. The next is here the complete diagrammatic form of the phosphorus cycle. So here you can see that only once somewhere in many years phosphorus can be coming from the rain, but that is a very small amount. बाकी का जो भी होगा is going to occur in and around the soil only. Now we see about a second, the most important topic about this chapter, that is ecosystem services. अभी तक हमने ecosystem के बारे में जितना भी कुछ पढ़ा, everything is going to be in a way summed up over here, because these are the services, these are the things that matter us a lot, and these are their services, their functions that they form. So whatever are the products coming from the ecosystem, they have some environmental, some aesthetic, some indirect economic value, and these products that the ecosystem are going to provide us, these are called as ecosystem services. So what are these services that they provide to you? First of all, it is going to be the purification of air and water. तो जो आपका ऑक्सीजन है that is going to be released by the plants, and carbon dioxide is taken then and fixed, so that you can use that as well. There is going to be mitigation of the droughts and floods है. Then the trees which are coming is going to stop the force of the flood. Droughts है that can be where जहाँ पे trees है, trees जब transpiration करते हैं they can release some amount of water, and that can help to recover from droughts. They are going to be helpful for the nutrient cycles, because soil is going to be one part and other the living organisms also contribute in the nutrient cycling. There is going to be generating of fertile soils, because if the microbes are not present fertile soils cannot be have. Then there is going to be perfect home for the wildlife to sustain. There is going to be maintenance of biodiversity, pollination of the crops, the storage and site of carbon, because carbon को rocks में रखना है या ocean में रखना है, everywhere these are going to be occurring in the ecosystem, as well as to provide the aesthetic and the cultural and spiritual values. Because aesthetic, because once you go to a garden and you sit under the tree, जो आपको राहत मिलेगी, जो सुकून मिलेगा under a tree is nowhere going to be found in your place with electronic gadgets. So this aesthetic, this spiritual, this cultural values is going to be provided only in the nature, that is the ecosystem service. So there was a person called as Robert Constanza and his colleagues. They had thought about कि ये सारे जो ecosystem services provide कर रहा है, these services are never ever taken, thought about by the humans. They just use it and they don't even pay off it back. So person, or generally humans, understand the value with the amount of money. मनी जहाँ पे है, जहाँ पे उसका प्राइस टैग लगेगा, जैसे ही प्राइस टैग लगेगा, पर्सन इज गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड इट्स वैल्यू. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ अ चॉकलेट इज गिवन, ये चॉकलेट को बोल दिया गया कि सिर्फ ये 1 रुपया की है, और एक बहुत बड़ा बार दे दिया चॉकलेट का, एंड इट इज सेड इट इज फॉर 1000 रुपीज. टू होम यू विल वैल्यू अ मोर. आप बोलोगे 1 रुपये की चॉकलेट है, कहीं गिर भी गई तो भी क्या फर्क पड़ता है. But if you are having a very costly item, you are going to store it, you are going to take care of it, and once there is going to be somewhere the amount is to be showcased, a price tag has been given to the services, people take care of it, people give their efforts back. So Robert Constanza had understood this, and he and his colleagues had given some average price tags to all the ecosystem services, and they had understood that these ecosystem services are provided by a price tag. अगर आपको उसकी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, then that is going to be nearly twice the value of the global GNP. So the average price for the ecosystem services was given as 33 million US dollars. So that was the price tag given for the ecosystem services, और उनका जो global GNP कितना है, it is going to be the 18 trillion US dollars, which is almost half of the price tag given to these services. So what are these services and how much do they contribute for the price tagging? So the first very important, जो humans कभी नहीं कर पाएंगे and they have to pay for it, that is the soil formation. Soil formation takes hundreds and thousands of years to form about 1 centimeter thick layer, and this soil formation needs to be done in nature only. But the soil formation है, you never ever pay it off. आप बस खोद देते हो, सॉइल इरोजन हो जाता है, डिफॉरेस्टेशन की वजह से हो, या एनी वे the formed soil, which takes hundreds of years, is flown away in 2 minutes. So that if you have to pay the amount, if you are told that every year you have to pay some amount from your salary for the soil formation to the nature, then you are going to think and take care of the soil that is formed. So for that reason, he had understood that soil formation, since this is a very important process going on, it needs to be contributed for a price tag of 50% of the cost. Then is the recreation, which is going to stand for about less than 10%. Nutrient cycling is going to be again a very important point, because if nutrients are not cycled, new organisms will not be able to be surviving there. So that is going to be again less than 10%. Climate regulation, जो rainfall आना है time पे, जो winter season है, या whatever climate needs to be regulated is going to take about 6%. And the habitat for wildlife, में जो natural food cycles है, या जो food web जो continue हो रहा है, या whatever kind of place to live in the wildlife needs will only be able to be given by the ecosystem. The humans are insufficient to go and make a house for animals that they have naturally got. सो वाइल्ड लाइफ का जो हैबिटेट है, उसके लिए भी अगर आपको प्राइस देनी पड़ेगी, then it is going to be contributing for 6% of the cost of the entire ecosystem services. So this needs to be understood that these are some of the examples if you are asked to pay for water. So many countries also have water tax. So once you are giving water tax, you are going to use water very carefully. If you are asked to give ऑक्सीजन टैक्स हो सकता है if you don't take care of it, वैसे हो सकता है the amount you use you have to pay for it, and once you understand to pay for it you are going to use it wisely. So that was the concept given by Robert Constanza, that once you are given money, you are given a price tag for the services, you are going to use it wisely, and for that reason he had given a price tag to the ecological services, and for that reason you should use it wisely. So with that thought that we have to conserve and you have to take steps wisely so that you don't have to pay for these systems which are free right now, but ho sakta hai if you don't use it wisely you are going to pay for it after few years, maybe in terms of cash or in terms of non availability and fighting for it. So, with this thought, let us take a step behind to think about it. And with this, we also have time to understand and revise this chapter. So, for this video, for this chapter, that was all to understand about the ecosystem. With this, we come back soon with one more amazing chapter for you to make it easier. Till then, like, share, and subscribe to our amazing channel. Keep studying, keep smiling as you always do. Until then, bye bye, everyone.